No time to fear, Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know. Now it's showtime.
It is Pride Month, so you would think there'd be great news about gays from around the globe. Not quite the case. Scott Jacobsen's going to be here with us live from Ukraine to talk about this gay week on The Karel Show and The Good Man Project. All right, it is The Karel Show. I am Karel, and most of you know that I have had quite a trying gay week. We're going to talk about that with our friend Scott Jacobsen, who is coming to us from the Ukraine. There he is. There's his cute little face. Just want to pinch those little cheekies. Hello, how are you? How's life in the Ukraine?
Things are good. Bombardments have been slower, so sleep has been better, and the weather has picked up to more than one sunny day, so I'm quite happy this week.
Well, there we go. All right. Well, I'm glad you are. All right. Well, Scott knows because I sent him the clip of me on the Great Britain News. I'm making international gay news this week. And a lot of you that have watched my show this week know that the chopped up portions of that I posted on social media have gotten comments like, you need to be put in a camp. You don't need Pride Month. You need to go to hell and burn with the rest of the sinners. All of this, just on and on and on of these really dreadful comments calling for my death, calling for, gay people, trans people, bi people to have some sort of harm befall them or be taken out of polite society, which is amazing because the host went on after I left the show to say how she just didn't see why they needed Pride Month because to her, everything for gays just seemed fine and rosy. And she should watch this gay week is what she should do before she comments about that. But the HelloFresh post did stir off an international controversy where they alluded to anal sex in their post. And I guess that was just too much for the heterosexual masses, and they have all lost their minds. So I don't know, Scott, do you want to weigh in on the HelloFresh controversy? Or do you want to weigh in on the comments that are under my post about how I'm basically should die or burn in hell or me and my group are a bunch of perverts and just on and on and on? This
is a great lean. There was one interaction I had today, actually, where an individual was mentioning several instances of extremist behavior that were exemplified by extraordinary acts of violence based on responding to what people said. And these were people who were fundamentalist religious, typically anti-LGBT and so on. Yet here you are undergoing this shit for decades. What massive violent act have you committed? Right? So there's a huge disconnect between how a lot of people in LGBT communities are treated, and then the lack of acts of mass violence, or sort of retributive justice, so to speak. And the disconnect also with the way in which this individual is responding, saying, things are great. I don't see why we even need it. Well,
we've heard that a lot echoed in the Fox News and Republican MAGA echo chamber. Well, why do they even need a Pride Month? And of course, they're trying to rename it, which is going just spectacularly badly for them. Like traditional family month or whatever, and that's just not working for them. But I just sent the post that had all these comments to that journalist at GBN and said, you went on air after I left, which is kind of chicken shit, and commented about how, I don't even see why they need Pride Month. Well, read these comments, and maybe, just maybe. 2 days ago on my show, I actually said it's amazing that more gays are not mass murderers, that we do not go out and just go crazy. And instead we respond with empathy, compassion, with activism. We respond to the homophobia and to their hatred and often to their violence. And we respond with community and community efforts. And, it's just amazing to me. I guess not a lot of gays are armed. I don't know, because it's amazing to me that we are as peaceful as we are, given the kind of attacks that we endure.
Well, it's also the psychology of justifying acts of violence against some of these minority communities, and then blaming it on them in some sense, saying, essentially, they made me do it.
Right.
It's this attempt of, but no, this actual example of attempted self-exculpation by externalization of blame to the actual victims of that violence.
If you're not visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast, videos, and the blog, including recipes, at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
And by the way, we're doing this Gay Week with Scott Jacobsen from the Good Man Project. I'm not advocating gays arm themselves and go commit violence. I'm just amazed. I'm 63. I've been out since I was 13. So for 50 years, I and everyone around me has had to endure really horrible. I mean, literally today on Instagram, people are calling for my death, saying I should be put in a camp, all kinds of things. And my big crime is that I suck better dick than they do. And so that, and that, I mean, I'm being flippant about that, but my big crime is that I love someone of the same gender, that I am not like them. And that's the big key catchphrase, that I am not like them. And because I am not like them, trans people are being murdered in record numbers across the globe. LGBTQ people are being oppressed in record numbers across the globe. We are going backwards across the globe. I am just always amazed that we don't, because wars have been started over less. Okay, Iran did less to the United States to start this war than straight people have done to gay people historically. So it's just amazing to me. Now, along those lines, it is Pride Month. You would think that, things like pride flags would be commonplace and everybody would be used to them. Not true. Eurovision has banned pride flags from the very queer contest stage. Nothing is gayer than Eurovision. I mean, come on. They launched ABBA's career.
I know one of the higher ranking winners of one of them, actually.
Right, they launched ABBA.
They love Eurovision.
Right, they love gays on Eurovision, and now they say you can fly the flag of your country, but you cannot fly a pride flag. That is a step back. That is not a step forward. And Eurovision has a ton of gay fans. So I don't think this is going to endear them to the show.
That's entirely true. And the justifications tend to be pretty thin of any rejection of this. Granted, it's the symbolic aspect of this sort of cultural war, but it's still mattering because it's such a prominent event.
Such a prominent gay event. Hello, Eurovision is the gayest song contest around. It's gayer than American Idol, and that's hosted by Ryan Seacrest, for the love of God. So anyway, and another pride issue, a reform-led Barnsley Council, this is in the UK, to no longer fly the pride flag on Town Hall, even during their Pride Festival. Oh, wait, they're not having one because the Reform Council there canceled that too. They are not alone. They are one of over 200 places that I found in the news this week that are now banning pride flags from their town halls, from their city buildings, et cetera, from their corporate headquarters, et cetera, et cetera. You have to wonder how a flag pisses people off so much. It's not a Confederate flag. It's not a swastika. It's just a rainbow. And yet, apparently, Scott, it appears to piss off a lot of people.
That's a big aspect of a lot of this commentary, too. Even if, for instance, we were to do a rundown, which I wanted to do, of sort of the big picture globally and historically of the facts around LGBTQ equality and repression, individuals will stick to from the populations aforementioned, it's insulting. They won't say it's not factual. They'll say it's insulting. So the knowledge of the history can be insulting to some individuals, yet it doesn't sort of override the fact that you're trying to present a factual history. And obviously, weekly we do this series, and it's primarily about contemporary factual history with some interpretive lenses. Obviously, you have a more sort of rich personal experience and knowledge base than I do on the subject matter. But it's, I often come across that as the pushback. It is insulting rather than it's not factual. And so that's very interesting.
One of my shows this week was the outrage machine, about which social media, that's all social media is an outrage machine. And Donald Trump's presidency is just an outrage machine. And all of this hoopla that we cover all across the globe about LGBTQ rights is just from the outrage machine. These people aren't really upset about gay people. Most of them don't know any, or if they do, they're family members. They're not really that upset about gay people. They're just being told what the outrage of the week is. And the outrage of the week this week, pride flags. That's the outrage of, it's Pride Month, so pride flags are everywhere. So let's go tear them down and show how outraged we are. At what? What are you? And you just can't corner these people on this. What are you mad at specifically? Because they don't have anything. They don't know what they're mad at. They're just mad because they're told to be mad by their preacher or by their political leader but they don't know why they're angry. If you ask them, okay, what negative things have LGBTQ people done to society? How has a gay person negatively affected your life? If you ask them specifically, how have gay people negatively impacted your life? They don't have an answer because we haven't. It's manufactured outrage. It always has been. It always will be. We're not a majority of the population. Trans people are less than 1%. How can you be mad at less than 1% of the population? That's like being mad at white rhinos. Oh, wait, there aren't any. But you know what I'm saying. It's like being mad at some species that only has 1% of the population left. And, it's ridiculous. So their outrage is manufactured.
I mean, and if an individual has had a bad experience individually with another person who happens to be of that background, that's an individual basis. It's not a community or sort of crime. We do have lots of cases of denominational religion, for instance, or political ideology as a whole used to commit crimes and acts of violence or justify them.
Particularly against gay people.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't, so if anyone has undergone a particularly bad individual experience, I don't want to sort of gaslight them on that. But in terms of what we're usually talking about on this particular segment, around sort of group, collective, policy, et cetera, issues, it just does not happen.
No. And, and sometimes good things happen. The charges have been dropped against the Budapest mayor over 2025 Pride March. So the Pride March was canceled, but then others said, no, we're still going to do it, including the mayor who said, yes, let's go, let's have Pride. And then the conservatives were going to punish them because they disobeyed orders and had a Pride festival and all that. Well, now the mayor and others who were involved in the actual festival happening have had charges against them dropped. That is good news. That's a piece of good news for Pride Month, because they shouldn't have been charged in the first place, and their festival shouldn't have been canceled in the first place. But the fact that it was, and then they had charges brought against them. At least now the charges have been dropped. Maybe if they were carrying a pride flag, they might have continued the charges, but they did not. So that at least is good news coming out of the UK. The EU, that the charges against the Budapest mayor has been dropped in relation to his support of the Pride March in 2025. It doesn't say anywhere in the story if they're having a Pride March 2026, but I doubt it. It doesn't, really say. And you know, I'm glad, because this guy could have faced serious penalties. I mean, it could have really disrupted his life. But the Hungarian prosecutors dropped charges against the mayor, Gergely Karasoni. The event took place in June of 2025, a year ago, despite warnings of potential legal repercussions by Hungary's then Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who is now gone. So the new Prime Minister heard what the people were saying. One of the things the people have told him via opinion polls is that they want to protect gay rights. And so the new Prime Minister, even though he's not that LGBTQ friendly, he does like his job. So he is starting to ease the country's stance on LGBTQ rights. The mayor said neither freedom nor love can be banned in Budapest. Oh, yes, they can. That's a naive statement, because, oh, yeah, they can. In April, the European Court of Justice ruled that Hungary's anti-LGBTQ laws violate EU rules and infringe its values of equality and minority rights. Citing that ruling on Thursday, the Hungarian they used a technicality to get out of it. They're like, well, the EU says we're kind of violating your rights, and we kind of are. So you know what? We're just going to drop these charges. Let's act like this never happened, and then the EU will be happy, okay? So it's really once again, it's the case of someone doing something right, not because they want to, but because they're being shamed into it or forced to. But at least they're doing, at least they're doing something right. Do you want to talk about Mendami, my favorite? You want to talk about Mendami, my favorite socialist?
So Mr. Mondani is a new transgender care clinic. It will not provide care to trans people under the age of 19. Do the ages differ state by state with regards to some of this stuff? Just fact check me on that.
No. Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Some states are now banning gender-affirming care for children, which they consider anyone under 18. Some states have laws about people who are wanting to transition prior to puberty, so they set it at 14. So there is no national set standard in terms of trans people, when they can transition, how they can. The states seem to be putting it together in their own way. Red states obviously are not allowing it. Blue states are trying to allow it. Donald Trump doesn't want it to happen. He has tried to ban transitional therapy for minors. So it's a patchwork. It's sort of like abortion now. It's some states are allowing it, some states are not, some states, so in New York, I think Mondami is trying to do the right thing without being too provocative. In other words, it's the right thing to open a trans health clinic. He knew if he allowed younger people to get care there, it would fall under greater scrutiny and backlash. Limiting to 19 and over, he can't get in any trouble, even with the feds, because everyone going to the clinic will be 19 and over. Because obviously gender-affirming care is going to be things like hormonal treatments, psychiatric treatment, hormonal treatment, all of that, which is what it is to transition. And again, many states do not want and do not allow people that are prepubescent or under the age of 18 to transition. It's a patchwork. They'd like to make it just a national law. They'd like Congress to pass a law that you can't transition until you're 18. Congress has not done that, or anything really, so about anything at all, including stopping a madman going to war. So in New York, he wanted to do something right during Pride Month, but he didn't want to do something that was going to get him in controversy. And so, it's not a win-win. It's a win. It's half a win. It would have been a win-win if any person could go there of any age and get gender-affirming care. If a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old or a 17-year-old. But the fact that they're 19 and above, also takes out the whole parental consent thing and, all of that. But I'm not going to slight him. At least he's doing something good for the trans community and not doing something bad. And right now we have to, that's what we have to count our lucky stars. You're pixelating. Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi in a war zone. Who knew? All right, so that's one of the stories. Mandami.
That's how it goes.
It is how it goes. Mandami did launch a gender-affirming care clinic in Queens. How appropriate. I mean, come on. Let's put the trans clinic in Queens.
We can end there. That's
right.
Perfect.
Could have been Brooklyn. Could have been the Bronx. Nope. Put the trans clinic in Queens.
No.
Hey, I'll take a.
It was probably running down the list of like possible places, and someone's like, "Wait, no. Let's do it that one.
Let's do it.
What that one place? Just trust me on this one. Just trust
I'm
me.
sure that's what his gay aide said. Just trust me. Trust me on it. You're gonna put it in Queens.
Just
it's gonna be
trust me in June.
In June, yes. You're gonna open a trans clinic in June in Queens. Win. Wins. All right, when we come back, there was a Valhalla attack that we're going to talk about, and also Tiptoe.
Now it's showtime.
All right, Scott Jacobsen is my guest. He is over in Ukraine. We are doing this gay week. Scott, they had to move an office because they're in Valhalla, which I assume is in the UK. The Equality and Human Rights Commission, EHRC, has moved away from its Valhalla office after an attack on the building, with Chair Dr. Mary Ann Stevenson telling MPs that fears for staff safety have escalated following a Supreme Court ruling on the Equality Act's definition of sex and gender. Giving evidence to the Women and Equality Select Committee on Tuesday, Stevenson said the watchdog had been forced to relocate because of an attack on the building, vandalism by a group that has also vandalized conferences and Wes Streeting's office. This is yet another, and this is the UK, this is yet another case of an LGBTQ organization coming under attack, and then for the safety of their own people having to move to another location. And, you don't really picture the modern day UK as being that homophobic, but it appears, like here and everywhere, that anti-gay sentiments are on the rise. And again, I think it's manufactured outrage, but there are people acting upon this online outrage. And I know that this attack was rooted in something online. I do. I know it was fueled by something online, or, you know what I'm saying? Yes, the Supreme Court ruling over there was misguided, but I don't think the perpetrators of this crime were really paying attention to that. I think they were online. They got all worked up into a frenzy and went and attacked, a building, which is how things seems to go. So it's sad that Valhalla had to move. They had to move their offices of the EHRC because they didn't feel that their staff was safe. And that just seems regressive, does it not?
Violence is not the answer. And if you have a social disagreement, take it to the political arena. That's what it's for.
Unfortunately, these young people who are doing these things, that's not how they've been raised or how they've been trained. Let's leave on a little bit of entertainment news that is upsetting a lot of people. Spoiler alert, if you're going to watch the show Tiptoe or you have watched it and haven't seen the end. Tiptoe is created by one of the best LGBTQ writers in the world, Russell T. Davies. I've had the pleasure of meeting and talking with him, interviewing with him. It's his new show. It had Alan Cummings with it, and it's about exactly what we're speaking about now. It's a 5-part miniseries about two neighbors, one gay, one straight, and the straight one is basically a homophobe. And over the 5 episodes, Alan Cumming goes out of his way to try to coexist with his neighbor. But ultimately, the homophobic neighbor, who could be equated to MAGA in this country, just doesn't doesn't buy it, doesn't want it. The final episode has upset people because, spoiler alert, Leo, who is played by Alan Cummings, is found hung by a light pole, out front of his house, and his neighbor and his neighbor's friends are the ones who did it. And what Russell T. Davies wanted to show is that when these kinds of emotions, and we were just talking about it, we were giving real world examples of this, when these kinds of emotions are left to fester and to grow, and then fueled by online hatred and everything else, it very often can end in violence and death. And even though this show was set in a different time period, so many of the commenters down below about the show are saying, this smacks of today. This is too real. This is hitting too close to home. This feels like modern day. And it's sad that a community is at a place where the murder of one of their people in a fictional drama that was set years ago hit so close to home today. The show is very well received, very, very well acted, very well written. Another classic from Russell T. Davies. It's just sad that it has such a horrifying ending, but yet a realistic one. I take it you haven't seen the. I haven't. I take it you haven't seen the Tiptoe. You haven't heard of it or seen it.
I haven't seen the Tiptoe. I haven't heard about it, but thematically, that would not feel unfamiliar with regards to.
Well, Russell T. Davies is my age, and so he went through the AIDS crisis. He's been through ACT UP. He's been through all of the movements that we've had. Him in the UK, me over here. He writes a lot like I talk. In so much as the weight of everything that's happened is not lost on him. He remembers it. He carries those scars with him. And he writes about that. In all of the shows he has written, they've been very uber realistic. And this show is very uber realistic. And Alan Cumming, who is fabulous and openly gay, has said that it was a rough show to do. It was a rough ending to film. And part of the problem for him as well is that it felt very present tense to him as well, that he could see this happening in today's world. And that's sad when you're showing hate from 30, 40 years ago and then realizing that it could happen now. His last show, It's a Sin, the same thing. He's written a lot of fabulous LGBTQ shows, and he often sets them in the past because he sees that as pivotal moments in our history, fighting for our rights under AIDS and all of that. But it appears from our fiction and from our regular stories that we are back fighting those same battles again. Maybe not centered around AIDS. I think trans is the new AIDS. And I know that sounds odd to say, but they used to hate us because of the AIDS. Now they hate us because we support trans. I was told on that GB News program by the host that we gays would be better served if we didn't ally ourselves with trans. If we didn't also, she said that trans aren't in our Venn diagram. So why do we support them? Because it's hurting us. And I said, that's exactly why we support them, because they're being marginalized and they need our help. Mm-hmm. But there is some.
It's the subtle Dave Chappelle attempt to basically, via sort of the alphabet people sort of rhetoric, say that they're individuated and therefore not more or less unified. Right.
We're not going to break apart the alphabet. All right, but we will try to find good stories for next week on This Gay Week. We've got Jacobsen in Ukraine, where I think he's just going to move. He's going to take up residence there. And it is Pride Month, so next week we'll try to find some prideful stories. I'll let you look.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view.
You know what? Let me, here, hold on.
Yours.
I'm the boss.
Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service.
Hold on. There, I got rid of all that hoopla because I haven't said goodbye. And, I think next week I'll let you pick the stories because the ones I found were like really depressing.
We got to find some good stuff for Pride Month.
We do. Have you heard any? Have you heard any good gay news?
Over here, I got one good news. Finally, I had another Kyiv Pride-based article published in the Rabble. That's good. That's a win. Major news in Canada. The Rabble's a very prominent progressive publication. Maybe the most prominent.
Is Kyiv having a Pride?
I talked to the project manager maybe a month and a half ago for some interviews. I can reach out and find out.
I'd love to know that. In the middle of a war, are they going to have a Pride festival? Because we need it now more than ever, but...
They haven't been having them in the middle of the war. I don't know if they've had them consistently every year necessarily.
I'd like to know if they're having a Pride in Kyiv. I'll fly over and perform my new single.
You're going to fly over a war zone where you can't fly?
Well, I'd fly into Poland and take a train into... Isn't that how you get out?
Sure.
Through Poland, you go in and out of
Poland? So I went into Krakow via plane, then bus into Lviv, and then train from Lviv to Kyiv.
Yeah, so you can get in and out. It's just not easy, but you can. I mean, Zelensky's off somewhere. He was just off greeting heads of state somewhere. I forget where, but I saw him getting off the plane.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff in Europe and a lot of stuff in the GCC because of the drone technology, anti-drone technology agreements that are being built.
All righty. So we will try to find some good stories for next week. But this week, Tiptoe ends badly, yet realistically, the EHRC in the UK had to move because their offices were attacked. New York launched a fabulous gender-affirming care clinic in Queens, but only if you're over 19. The mayor of Bucharest in Budapest, is not going to be charged over supporting the 2025 Pride March. Barnsley Council in the UK said they can no longer fly their Pride flag over their town because in some way that'll make them have less gays. And the gayest song competition in the world, Eurovision, has banned the Pride flag from their stage. That's this week on This Gay News. Anything else?
That's all for this week.
Well, then that's all for this week. Scott and I bid you a civil adieu. I am Karel. Be who you want to be, so long as it doesn't hurt anybody. And we shall be back next week.